You said the first act of discipleship and obedience is the act of baptism. While baptism is not essential to salvation, it is essential to discipleship and obedience. We baptize because Christ commanded baptism. As an act of obedience, it demonstrates the beginning of God's reign in our lives in the process of conversion from a self-led life to a God-led life. It says that I am not my own, I belong to him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people in writing a book about the church would probably put baptism to the side, depending on what your tradition is. But you put that right out there at the beginning. Why did you feel like you needed to include that right there?
Well, because that is where the text gives us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and prayer, right? When I understand first that my life in Christ is tied to my obeying his instructions, and he instructed the church to baptize. He himself obeyed the ritual of baptism, and he said, I do it to fulfill all righteousness. So he gives me the example of what it means to come under subjection to an expectation. And therefore, as a believer, the first act is baptism. That is the very first act that one is given to say, I am yielding to the sovereign authority of God in Christ Jesus by doing this. Yielding, number one. Number two, I am identifying with that which happened for me and is now happening in me. Christ died, Christ was buried, Christ rose. And I identify with that having been done for me, and I demonstrate that happening to me as well. And it's a statement for the world because also, it is the first public act. It's first public act. And why is that important? Because our lives are to be lived publicly. And this is the first public witness, right? And so it's the lowest threshold of public witness. Nevertheless, it's the first. Yeah.
What did you mean by that? The lowest threshold?
The lowest threshold in terms of risk, right? Risk. Okay. There are more risky forms of public witness to which one may be called. This one, in our context, now.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking me that. In our context, it is the lowest. Now, in other contexts, it was perhaps one of the greatest